If you think Morgan Freeman's life has always been defined by smooth success, steady applause, and effortless recognition, the truth is far more complex and deeply human. Behind the calm smile, the unmistakable voice, and the legendary presence lies a lifetime shaped by patience, perseverance, and quiet struggle. Morgan Freeman's story is not one of overnight fame or easy opportunity, but of talent that waited decades to be fully seen. Before the awards, before the iconic roles, and before the world began to call him a legend, he was simply a man holding tightly to a dream in a world that often offered little encouragement. His journey reminds us that greatness is not always discovered early, and that sometimes the most inspiring stories are built slowly, through endurance rather than instant triumph. Childhood in Mississippi and a world of limits. Morgan Freeman was born in 1937 in Mississippi, during a time when poverty and segregation shaped daily life for Black families in the South. Opportunity was scarce, and ambition was often treated as something unrealistic for a young boy growing up in those conditions. The idea of becoming an actor was not just difficult, it was nearly unimaginable. His early years were marked by instability, as his family moved frequently and life offered little sense of permanence. Yet, in those uncertain surroundings, Morgan developed something powerful, the ability to observe. He watched people closely, listened carefully, and learned to understand emotion through subtle expression. Without realizing it, he was building the foundation of an actor long before he ever stepped onto a professional stage. His childhood taught him resilience, adaptability, and a quiet strength that would later define his entire career. Discovering a spark through performance. Even in the midst of hardship, Morgan found a small doorway into something bigger through school performances. The stage was not glamorous, but it offered him something rare, a sense of freedom. In those moments, he could step outside the limitations of his environment and become someone else, even briefly. Acting gave him purpose and belonging in a world that often felt restrictive. But life demanded practicality, and dreams had to compete with survival. There were no easy paths to formal training, no Hollywood connections, and no guarantees. For a time, he placed his passion quietly to the side, not because it disappeared, but because the world required him to focus on stability first. The Air Force and the search for direction. As a young man, Morgan enlisted in the United States Air Force, believing it might offer structure and security. He worked hard and committed himself fully, but deep inside, he sensed that he was living someone else's plan rather than his own. The dream of acting never truly left him. It remained quietly present, resurfacing in moments of stillness, reminding him of what he truly wanted. Eventually, he made a decision that surprised many. He walked away from a stable military future to pursue an uncertain path in acting. It was not reckless, it was courageous. He chose the possibility of fulfillment over the comfort of predictability, even though the odds were stacked against him. Years of rejection and quiet persistence. When Morgan returned to acting, Hollywood did not welcome him with open arms. The industry was harsh, especially for a Black actor trying to break through, in an era filled with limitations and stereotypes. He spent years performing in small theatres, taking low-paying jobs, and struggling financially. Casting directors overlooked him repeatedly, often labelling him as too serious, too calm, too old, or simply not what they were looking for. Rejection became routine, and uncertainty was constant. Yet Morgan persisted, not because fame was his goal, but because acting was his calling. He loved the craft deeply, and even when the world refused to notice him, he continued showing up, learning and refining his talent. Strength, built through waiting, those difficult years were not wasted. Every setback became a lesson in endurance. Every small role became practice. Morgan learned how to channel emotion authentically, how to read people, and how to bring depth into even the smallest moments. Poverty, social barriers, and rejection were never proof of a lack of talent. They were simply obstacles that demanded patience. Over time, his life experience became part of his artistry. The struggles he endured gave him a presence that could not be manufactured. He was not just performing emotion. He understood it. The quiet power audiences would later admire was built during these years when no one was watching. A dream that refused to fade. By his 30s and 40s, Morgan Freeman still had not achieved the recognition he deserved. While many people his age were settling into stable careers and predictable lives, he was still navigating small apartments, uncertain paychecks, and an industry that had yet to truly embrace him. Doubt could have easily taken root. The questions were inevitable. What if it never happens? What if my time has passed? But quitting never became an option. Acting was not something he did for attention. It was something he needed, something that gave his life meaning. His persistence was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, quiet, and unwavering. Gradual recognition. Through stage and television, Morgan's first meaningful recognition came through stage performances and television work. These roles were not glamorous, but they provided visibility. Still, they did not erase the financial uncertainty or emotional strain of a life spent chasing opportunity. Personal life became complicated under the weight of constant effort and modest reward. Yet Morgan remained dedicated. He continued to sharpen his craft, building a reputation not through hype, but through undeniable skill. Every step forward was hard-won, and every door that opened came only after years of waiting outside. Breaking through. Later, than most eventually, persistence began to pay off. People started noticing something unique about Morgan Freeman, his authenticity, his depth, his ability to command attention without forcing it. Recognition came gradually, not in a sudden explosion, but in a way that could no longer be ignored. His performances carried a quiet gravity that audiences instinctively trusted. He did not fit Hollywood's usual mold of stardom, but that was exactly what made him unforgettable. He brought something real, something lived, into every role, and the world slowly began to understand what it had overlooked for so long. Success that arrived in his 50s. Morgan Freeman's career truly flourished later than most, not reaching its peak until his 50s. Films like Driving, Miss Daisy, Glory, and Lean on Me finally brought him the acclaim he had earned over decades. His rise was not meteoric. It was earned. Every role felt richer because of the years that came before it. Success arrived, but it carried the weight of time spent waiting. His story became proof that late recognition is still meaningful, and that perseverance can create something lasting. Fame and the hidden weight of admiration. Even after fame arrived, life did not suddenly become easy. Public recognition brought new pressures, expectations of wisdom, composure, and constant excellence. The world admired his calm authority, but rarely asked about the struggles that shaped it. Success brought admiration, but not simplicity. Morgan carried both achievement and the emotional weight of decades spent being underestimated. The icon the world celebrated was built from years of resilience that few ever saw. Reflection, legacy, and the human behind the voice. At 88, Morgan Freeman represents far more than his filmography. His legacy is not only in his awards or iconic voice, but in the example he sets for anyone pursuing a dream against the odds. He reminds us that success is not always fast. that recognition can take time, and that perseverance matters more than instant validation. Behind the legend is a profoundly human story, one of rejection, patience, doubt, and unwavering determination. The calm presence audiences admire was shaped by hardship, endurance, and years of learning how to survive unseen. The power of perseverance. Morgan Freeman's life is ultimately a celebration of perseverance. It shows that dreams deferred are not dreams denied, that obstacles can become strength, and that greatness is measured not by speed, but by durability. His journey teaches that even when the world feels unwelcoming, holding onto your vision can lead to fulfillment. He did not become legendary because life was easy, but because he refused to stop moving forward. Conclusion. A life that inspires beyond the screen. Morgan Freeman's story is not simply about fame. It is about patience, struggle, triumph, and reflection. It is the story of a man who transformed hardship into strength and became unforgettable through endurance. His life reminds us that greatness is often built quietly, over time, through courage and determination. At 88, he stands not just as an icon of cinema, but as a testament to the power of resilience and the beauty of never giving up, even when the journey is long